the other day I saw a meme that kind of put in perspective how long it's been, and to think that we're coming up now on like 4 years since or we have hit 4 years,
It's
right?
over 4 years.
Yeah, it was kind of jarring. I don't know. What do you think?
A nightmare. Ready to go to year 5. It's pretty much it.
Like, one thing I wanted to point out is that a lot of people talk about like struggles and like hard times as like learning experiences and like growing experiences. You didn't get any of that from COVID, would you say?
No.
You can have another subject, another conversation about was it worth it? Like what you had to give up, was it worth it? And I would think that 99.9% of people would say, fuck no. Anything I gained was not worth it. But I think for a lot of people, like, kind of sounds like yourself, is what you're saying is that you don't think you learned or grew that much through the struggle anyway. So it was a double negative. Like there was nothing good to be gained from it, the situation.
It was an absolute nightmare. I mean, that's pretty much sums up the last 4 years. So.
What was your experience with the actual lockdown portion? Like how did you even find out?
Well, my job moved remote.
How did you find out? Like what was the day that you knew that everything was not going to be the same?
Probably went to bowling one day and it was closed. And then later that day, my job that was supposed to start in Dallas said that we're not coming into the office and we're working from home.
This was IBM?
Yeah. March. Yeah, it was March of 2020.
So I'll tell you really quickly how I remember it going down. What I remember most of all was that the Super Bowl, which of course is the biggest event in America every year in the USA, was happening just as I started to see like, how like kind of like right before let's say you're watching like an hour-long news program. At like minute 30, like right before they hit commercial break, they'll drop like a smaller story segment there.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like the format of a lot of shows. And so it was right around this time that I started to notice a reoccurring story. And it would be like, that flu thingy in California is starting to get a little bit worrisome. Anyway, off to commercial break. And then it's, because originally it was just in China and people were like, oh, we're totally safe, we're across the ocean. And then there was that outbreak on the cruise liner. Do you remember that? That was off the coast of California. And it was a big debate whether to just like just push them off into the abyss, because the fear was that if they docked, then it's all over. Like the virus is just gonna spread like a frickin' geyser blowing up. Like it's just gonna go everywhere and we can't control it. So there were legitimately some people that were just blow the fucker off in the middle of the water. But of course, we later found out that the virus was already here, and it probably was here for like months, and just nobody was testing for it. Like, think about all the people who went to Asia, came back, had a flu for like 2 weeks, and was like, oh, that sucked, and then just went about their business.
Oh yeah, I'm sure there's like been hundreds of cases that happened like long before it was ever reported.
Because prior to 2020, what you did when you were sick was, if you stayed home, because a lot of people went to work sick, like that was
you suck it up. That's
a typical thing. Yeah. If anything, remember when you used to be looked down on for taking time off for being sick, and then if you didn't take time off for being sick, they'd be like, call the feds.
But I think we've now gone back to the opposite, like it was before.
Oh, have you seen the CDC guidelines on the latest COVID?
No.
It's literally like flu or less, actually. It's like, you can stay home if you feel symptoms. If you don't feel symptoms, wait 24 hours and then go back to work. It's like, we've totally,
it's kind of crazy.
Gone back to what it used to be. But for a while, like there was like some real, like neighbors turning on neighbors. Like my dad was like, these fuckers are having parties again. Oh, like next door, like I'm gonna call the cops on them for not wearing masks. I'm like, there was some pretty. It got dark for a couple of moments there.
Yeah, I mean, people were coming over and we were playing board games in the backyard because they didn't want to come in the house.
You can't be doing that, Nick. You're spreading the virus.
That's what I said. I'm like, we're all together. Like, does it matter if we go inside? I'm like, isn't that the same thing other than it's 1,000 degrees and we have to move the whole board game in the backyard?
My favorite one was on planes. If you're on a plane and you sat in first class, no rules apply to you, right? You can just chill in first class.
Oh, I thought it was eating rule.
If you're on business or economy class and you were sleeping and your mask went to like here while you were sleeping and you're like fast asleep, right? You're on a big layover from West Coast to East Coast or vice versa. The flight attendants would literally shake you awake and tell you to put your mask back over your nose.
Well, they had that eating rule. I used to,
Nuts.
like, on flights, I used to like take 2 hours to eat like a bag of chips and like drink water.
And that's what they would do in first class. They would order like a fat cognac or something, and then they would just sit there and sip it like once every 30 minutes until they arrived at their destination. It's get out
That's
of
literally what I
card.
was doing. It was crazy.
Yeah. But I feel like a lot of those cheat rules came up in more like mid 21 and like 22 in particular. I feel like in 2020, especially in the first couple of months, there was a little bit of like all right, guys, because remember the administration lied to us, like the media and the government lied to us. They tried to say if we all hunker down and we all close our doors for what was it, like 5 or 6 weeks, right? It was something random like that. It was like for 21 days, if we all pause, then it should go away on its own. And it was hilarious because if anything, it just got worse, like really bad.
Well, because a lot of people weren't actually doing it.
Well, I would say.
Like, dude, I went to Vegas like 3 times during COVID.
No. I'm
And
not
Dallas,
talking about that portion. I'm talking about April of 2020. If you didn't quarantine April of 20, when like everybody was just begging you to just take a chill pill, you'll get paid, right? Everyone was going to get paid.
I think I literally went to Vegas.
The government was
in April of 2020.
Well, then you're an asshole. Everyone should have stayed inside for a couple of weeks. It turned out not to matter, but let's say that it would have actually mattered. Like, let's make that hypothetical. You're an asshole for not having done it, because all we would have needed to do in that hypothetical scenario, in that alternate universe, is to stay inside for a few weeks, let it all blow over, and then we could go back out, because what we were doing was we were banning all the other countries from coming to the United States.
But dude,
we banned China and we banned Europe from coming here. So we basically like self-isolated as a country for a little bit, and then everybody stayed indoors, let it blow over, and then we could go back to normal. That was the hope. And hope went right the fuck out the window. Dude, it was June or July of 20, excuse me. I went up to see my friend who lived in Long Island. This was Jeff. Jeff lived in Long Island. He bought like a house there, but it was really like just a mega apartment essentially.
Okay.
And we went to, it was either Coney Island, it was one of the boardwalks. I think it was Coney Island. And bro, you would think that nothing was going on. It was actually embarrassing. And you would kind of, I assumed that like liberal New York, you know, people up there are more.
No, I lived in Boston. It was the same thing.
Whatever.
When it got nice out.
Holy crap, dude. The beach was full. I had a video. I'm so pissed about this because I broke my 14. I think it was the iPhone 14. And so then I had to upgrade and I lost it. But I had a video and it was perfect because it would always freak people the fuck out like a year or two later who used to think like that, oh, everybody's, you know, trying to be socially conscious, but, you know, the administration's fucking us up. It's like, this was shot the summer of 20 in New York City. The beaches were filled. The boardwalk was filled. People were back to back, lined up, waiting to get a Coney, you know? People were fishing on the pier. Old dudes, like fat, overweight, in the fucking mobility scooters were casting out, and they had like the mask on the chin. They didn't give a fuck, bro. If at all.
But I mean, in what world could you coordinate 350 million people to do the right thing? Like, you know how much shady shit happens in America?
Bro, we all that's the problem is we've all grown up on Hollywood movies and TV. And in any Hollywood or movie TV, someone just got to give a really impassioned speech in front of a camera and a microphone, and then like it would be hands across America. Everyone would be locking their doors and shitting in their. It would be that scene from Step Brothers where he shits and he realizes he never bought toilet paper, so he very sadly has to go over to the sink and wet his rug carpet and wipe his ass. That's exactly what happened, because if you recall, I think, what was it, like 2 months or 3 months in, we mysteriously ran out of toilet paper. It's funny.
I do remember that.
It's funny now how unprepared we were for something like that.
That part was wild.
We were so unprepared. We ran out of the basic stuff. You know?
That's crazy.
I thought that we were gonna run out of things like Twinkies first, you know? Like, you know, it was like, oh, we can't get Gushers anymore, boo-hoo. It's like, no, you can't get toilet paper anymore.
Yeah, it got pretty bad.
We ran out of the bare essentials.